Mahatma Gandhi by Jyoti Solapurkar, Part 2. After qualifying as a barrister, he set up his practice as a lawyer in Rajkot. As he did not get much work there, he came to Bombay. Even in Bombay, he did not get any cases. Finally, he got one case. He prepared well for it, but in court, he was unable to present it satisfactorily. Disappointed, he felt he would never make a successful lawyer. Just at that time, Bapuji's elder brother managed to get him a case. He was asked to represent Mr. Abulas, a rich businessman in South Africa. After much deliberation, Bapuji agreed to accept the case. He left his homeland and set sail for Africa in 1895. Although there were many Indians staying in Africa at that time, all the power was in the hands of the Europeans. They considered themselves superior and treated the Indians and the natives in a most insulting manner. Bapuji undertook Abula's case and handled it very well. The Indians were very much impressed and wanted Bapuji to stay on in Africa. In connection with his work, Bapuji travelled a good deal. However, he was treated very badly by the Europeans. Wherever he went, he had to face insults and rudeness. At times, he was even physically assaulted. One day, when he was traveling from Durban to Pretoria, in the first-class compartment of a train, a British man boarded the compartment. On seeing Bapuji, the British man got furious. He called the railway officer and both ordered him to get out of the train. Since Gandhiji had purchased a first-class ticket, he refused to do so. However, they paid no heed to him. Gandhiji also did not budge. Finally, the police were summoned. They pushed him out of the compartment and threw his luggage out of the window. Bapuji had to spend the whole night on the platform. This was only one of the many humiliating experiences Bapuji had to face. He had decided to return to India on the completion of his work in Africa, but the plight of the Indians there disturbed him greatly. He resolved to stay and fight the unjust and inhuman laws that were imposed on them. For everywhere there was discrimination. There was one set of rules for the Indians and natives and a different set for the Europeans. Bapuji gave considerable thought to the matter. He realized that to fight against injustice, it was vital for the people to have unity amongst themselves. He tried very hard to bring about this unity. He organized many meetings and made the people aware of the situation. In reply, the people appointed him as their leader and agreed to be guided by him. Since all the power was in the hands of the Europeans, Bapuji realized that to fight them it was necessary to use an entirely different method. It was then that he thought of the novel idea of Satyagraha. Satyagraha insistence on truth, a non-violent protest against injustice. His movement aimed at fighting the many unjust laws that were imposed on them, and for it to be successful, he was prepared to face all hardships and obstacles. It was no easy task. He suffered much humiliation, faced many problems, but he did not give up. It was during this time that a war broke out between the British and the Dutch settlers in Africa. It was known as the Boer War. Bapuji and other Indians gave whatever help they could to the British. The British won the war, and taking into consideration the help Bapuji had rendered to them, they gave the Indians more privileges. They also agreed to abolish the unjust laws that were imposed on them. Bapuji felt very happy that his stay in Africa had served some useful purpose. Thinking that his work was now over, he decided to return to his motherland. The people were very reluctant to let him go. They were very keen that he should settle down in Africa itself. Finally, Bapuji told them that he would go to India but come to Africa whenever they call him. Only then did the people agree to let him go. They gave him a grand farewell and showered him with many expensive gifts. However, Bapuji did not accept anything. He donated everything to the local organizations. During his long stay in Africa, Bapuji visited India sometimes, where he met many important leaders and sought their advice. Gopal Krishna Gokhale was one such leader who rendered assistance to Bapuji in many ways. Bapuji admired him tremendously and looked upon him as his mentor. It was largely due to him that Bapuji joined the mainstream of Indian politics. By the time all these developments took place in Africa, it was 1914. Bapuji had spent almost 20 years in that country. He returned to India, for he had made up his mind to fight for the freedom of India. He decided that he would not miss a single opportunity that would help him in serving his country and countrymen. As such, he toured the whole of India and brought an awakening in the people living in villages and towns. North of the Ganges, near the boundary of Nepal, was a small place called Champaranya. It was noted for its cultivation of indigo dye. Unfortunately, the British planters in Champaranya threatened the local workers most cruelly. Worse still, the government paid little heed to the workers' cries, with the result that they were utterly disgusted with their employers. Bapuji heard of this and went to Champaranya to do something for them. He was unable to bear their miserable plight. He began a satyagraha against the injustice done to the workers. Finally, the British were compelled to stop their inhuman treatment of the workers. This satyagraha came to be known as the Champaranya Satyagraha. After the success of the Champaranya Satyagraha, Bapuji felt that he should settle down in one place. He selected a site near the banks of the Sabarmati river in Gujarat and established his ashram there. He decided that thereafter he would devote all his time to the service of humanity and work for the downtrodden. He preached what he practiced. He picked up the cause of the Harijans, who were treated most atrociously all over the country. He raised his voice against the inhuman and unjust treatment meted out to them. He started 2 newspapers, Harijan and Young India, and through them he expressed his views and spread awareness in the people. To be continued in the next video.